Roar. Growl. Snarl. Bellow.
Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast that's a wizard for lizards. My name is Matthew Dahl, and each week I and a rotating series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate a genus of prehistoric animal, or in this case, an animal that was prehistoric but still around today, but there's a really cool reason we're talking about it. And it is a lizard. It's not like a lizard like a dinosaur, like terrible lizard. This is actually a lizard. And joining me and talking to me about this lizard is the wizard of D&D himself, Alan Brooks. How are you?
Hello, Matt. So, okay, to get right into this, why are we talking about
because this is a bite-sized...
Yeah,
this is a bite-sized episode, so...
modern-ish lizard?
Okay, so here's the thing. I heard... These lizards, they're called the night lizards, and they are a group... they're closely related to skinks. They're in the same sort of family. And they've been around for about 93 million years. And they've been around for 93 million years, pretty much unchanged, in Mexico and Central America for 90 million years unchanged. Now, as you might recall...
Wait. I think I'm actually getting this myself. You're talking about these lizards somehow survived basically being at ground zero for the
Chicxulub
impact.
Okay.
And survived it.
They weren't at ground zero, because then they would have been utterly incinerated. But they were closer than any other vertebrate animal. In fact, it's believed that these guys were the based on a study that has been published. All right, today it's the 30th of June as of recording. We're getting this way late because it's supposed to premiere tonight and then tomorrow, and then the Patreon where it says early episodes. That's a load of BS this time. But I'm not even editing it. So, but anyways, so. Yeah, it's June 30th, and these studies have come out June 25th. This is brand new, that they have found evidence. Not too much evidence for fossils, because obviously fossils wouldn't survive. Oh, I'm sorry, June 28th, so 2 days ago.
Wow.
This is new stuff. I got this, one of those clickbait articles. I got this article on my phone when I was opening it up, and it was one of those clickbait articles, and I was like, well, the click has officially been baited successfully, so... And so these guys were at ground zero, and there's a few reasons why. But first, let me get into stats. So this is a group called was it the Xanthucidae night lizards? Somehow is what it means.
Despite the fact that they're not actually, nocturnal.
They actually are.
They are? I thought the article said that they weren't.
Oh well, maybe some of them aren't.
Okay.
Maybe they're that way because they're colored. I don't know. I need to look more into it. Maybe,
this is fresh news, by the way.
This is fresh. Yeah, who knows? Anyways, type, it's a squamate, an order of reptiles that includes lizards, snakes, and also mosasaurs. So size 1.6 to 4.7 inches / 4 to 12 centimeters long. Diet carnivore, mostly insectivorous. Time early Cretaceous to late Holocene, 93 million years ago to present. Yes, they're alive today, breaking my rules once again. But this isn't the first time I've done this. I've done this before on an episode where I also broke the rules, even more so because it was all about a plant. Magnolia. Prehistoric animal, try modern plant. There are no rules with paleobites. Location, lower North and Central America. They've been pretty much there exclusively ever since they evolved. And like I said, if you recall, something happened, I don't know, roughly 65 to 66 million years ago in that area. You might be starting to see where this is going. Described in 1858, pop culture appearances. This episode of Paleobites and the articles we're citing here are the biggest publicity they're ever going to get. So, but anyways.
They are small lizards, so they're not exactly a big thing. But the fact that they potentially have been mostly unchanged despite being almost ground zero of the KT extinction,
they're like they're the only vertebrates to have survived in the vicinity of the extinction. And here's the thing. So, these lizards themselves, they look just like regular lizards. You look at them like, that's a lizard. There's nothing notable. They don't have, horns or spikes or anything cool. But they're survivors. So, what happened? So, as this article states, an asteroid more than 6 miles across. I had to use a different article than the one I gave you because I opened that one too many times and says, you've reached your free article limit. So, I'm like, damn it, I'm not signing up for this. So, I'm just going to look at a different article. So, It struck the Chicxulub region of Yucatan, Mexico, releasing 10 to the 23rd power joules of energy. So, 1,000-mile radius of force was instantly incinerated. The impact gouged the crater more than 100 miles wide and 12 miles deep. Tsunamis roughly the size of the Eiffel Tower, propagated outwards. And there's just all this other stuff like tsunamis, fire, dust, debris, closing off the sun. When it was over, 75% of all species were gone. However, the study is published in Biology Letters, researchers combined phylogenetic tip dating with ancestral trait reconstruction to determine whether Xanthucid lizards originated before the KPG boundary and to identify features that may have aided their survival. They survived this extinction near the asteroid impact. There are 34 living night lizard species. This study has shown that they went back to 92 million years ago, for the two ancient lineages. They survived the KPG boundary. Here's the interesting thing about them.
Okay.
They only produce 2 offspring at a time. And they also are all oviviviparous, which is one of my favorite words.
You're going to have to explain that one, because that one is a little longer than I'm used to.
It's a word that I love because it's oviviviparous. It's specifically a normally egg-laying group of creatures that actually gives birth to live young because they lay their eggs internally and they hatch internally, and then they give birth to live young. So lizards, snakes, some sharks, some lizards and snakes, not all, there's some eggs of those. But so it's basically a creature that's normally an egg layer, but this one gives birth to live young because the eggs hatch internally. Some frogs do that too. There's gross footage you can find of tadpoles swimming around inside the innards of a frog because they've hatched and they're just waiting to be birthed. So anyways, they produce 2 offspring at a time. They birth them 2 at a time. And this might have helped because what they did, night lizards are really good at avoiding predators. They have a very, very high survival rate once they reach adulthood. There's a high life expectancy, which means, most lizards small lizards particularly have a lot of babies, but these have very few.
R-selected versus K-selected. R-selected basically means that you have lots and lots and lots of babies, and you expect most of them to die before they reach adulthood, but you're just kind of flooding the world with your babies and hoping that they do it. So this one is more...
Some of them survive.
K-selected, meaning they produce very few offspring. Oftentimes that means that they put a lot of parental care into things. Humans are a very particular one that spend a long time protecting their kids.
Well, there's a reason why we humans do that. It's because our heads are so big. So, it's I don't know if you... So, our heads are so big because to store all that brain power that we can't be born any later, more developed than we can, because otherwise the pelvis of the woman can't expel it. There's not enough room. So you know how deer and giraffes can run a few hours after they're born? It's because they're very well developed in the humans can't do that because our heads are so big that if they wait any longer, the head won't be able to get through the hips of the woman. So
some people even mention that the 3 months after birth are technically the 4th trimester of the baby. Exactly. If we held on a bit longer, we wouldn't have to raise our kids as long because they'd be more developed. However, they wouldn't be as smart either. So because the brains wouldn't be as big. So then again, maybe with weird tech in the future, we'll figure out a way to circumvent that with artificial wombs or something. Maybe. I don't know.
But anyways, point is, so these lizards, they were K-selected. Is that the one you said? It's K versus R, and this is K?
Maybe. K-selected is simultaneously both the rate at which you reproduce and how much parental care. It's kind of they hybridize the two. So yes, as far as the reproduction speeds goes, they're very K-selected. Are they K-selected, meaning they take care of their hatchlings? If that's the correct term.
I can't seem to find that. Oh, there's 3 fossils in around. No, Catactegenys, Papio, blah, 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 and this is the one. Okay. Okay. I'm renaming this episode on there. Originally, I was gonna name this after the genus name, but I found the name of our creature. Catactegenys. It's the Late Cretaceous of Texas. So
okay.
That's the creature we're talking about. Texas was close enough. Like, that's probably as close as you could get to that extinction. Well, and also, to be fair, maybe some were evolved got even closer, but their fossils didn't survive. So, they, because of the impact, but they might have. I don't know if that's, I don't know, but anyways. So, okay, this is the name, I'm putting this down. Catactegenys is the name of this episode. So, anyways, the birth rate. This might have helped it, because since their life expectancy was so high, they gave birth to a few young, and it was a gestation period of 3 months, and there was like a year in between births. Mm-hmm. So, because of that, they, you know, the effects of the meteor happened pretty quickly. Like, the long-term effects were a long time, but the initial, like, the stuff to survive head-on, the blast, the fire, the earthquakes, the tsunamis, that was the day of.
Yeah. Like, day of, next day sort of thing.
If you made it to the next day, you're that small, your survival rate's a lot better. Like, your survival rate skyrockets if you survive that first day.
Okay.
And these guys, since they didn't have, what might have happened is this might have been a period where there weren't really a lot of young, so they were all mostly adult. It was in between birthing times, since they had such long periods.
Okay.
So because of that, they were able to. They didn't have to held behind with eggs and stuff. They could hide based on like some other things I found here with like they're able to weather rapid environmental shifts, apparently based on modern ones of it.
Okay.
So because they only had one or two offspring, they didn't need a huge population. So even if a lot of them did die, a lot of individuals died, they could just keep going. So what happened, I'm assuming, is put all that combined, it was like between a period of gestation. Then by the time the 2 months ended and the next generation was ready to be born, all that was left of the meteor impact to survive was the dust. And the lack of food because of the lack of
sunlight.
Photosynthesis.
Coldness. Which at which point, being an insectivorous lizard, meaning they don't eat a
small
lot
insectivorous
anyways,
lizard,
small
you're doing great.
Lizard. Yeah,
you're doing great at that point. Yeah, so like,
and I could totally understand that some of them being, okay. So two things that would happen. One, all of the scavenger insects would go absolutely to town on the dead animals, which means you suddenly have a glut of food, which gives in do it, and
all the flies come in with all the dead dinosaurs.
Anyway. You don't eat a lot anyways.
Yep. So then they eats all the flies. Honestly, it could have if they made it past that first day, they would have had the time of their lives.
All of the big predators that come after them would be gone.
It's sort of like I've seen things where like all the deep sea sharks and crabs during the impact, they were do so well because all the mosasaurs and plesiosaurs that are just falling down from the surface, they're like, food! It's raining food! It was actually a great time for them. They were having the best time because down there, maybe the earth would shake a little, but other than that, they wouldn't care.
Yeah.
They were too far deep for the tsunamis to really affect them, and like the fire and the dust. And by that point, there's no sunlight, so don't need that anyway. So down there, they're like, asteroid, thank you, asteroid.
That makes sense, because I was like, okay, so how did these guys survive? And it sounds like they may have just survived because they're good at. Why does it say that they're really good at surviving rapid changes in environmental stuff? And how are they so good at surviving when they get to adulthood?
I think what I'm saying is that like it's because of their reproductive stance that like they don't need a huge population to survive, I think is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because they as soon there's always going to be more of them. Like,
okay.
And they keep birthing them in ways that like, and since they only have two at a time, it's like I don't know, something about like these articles aren't really clear. These are based on what I'm. So let's see. I'm trying to read this. The persistence of night lizards. Survival did not depend on broad. Night lizards appear across the extinction will occupy narrow habitats of producing 1 2. Basically, because of the intensity of KPG, there could be no direct fossil evidence that Cretaceous night lizards occupied the immediate impact region. Instead, the inference of proximity rests on reconstructed ancestral ranges in North America and Central America and molecular dating placing their common ancestors to Late Cretaceous.
Okay.
So, I think basically, we don't know exactly how they survived, but we know they did in the vicinity based on this. So... That my thing is just a theory, or a hypothesis, I should say, because there's no evidence for it.
Okay. Yeah. So they may not have survived the immediate area, but that was their home, and as soon as it went back to something realistically resembling, they were like, okay, moving back in.
Yep.
So it sounds like just their reproductive thing is why they're so good at surviving things, because it doesn't explain why they survive as adults, you know? That's the other question I have, because
I think it's that they weren't really burdened by
slow reproduction.
I think what I'm saying is I think
adults.
They weren't burdened with having to take care of their young. Because taking care of your young is a burden.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking. And maybe the ones that did have young to take care of, which they wouldn't have survived, but a lot of them were in between. That's just my theory. You know.
Okay. Because, again, it could also be that they're really good at camouflaging, or if they're just so kind of like...
Well, camouflaging isn't going to help you against a big fire wave.
No, I'm saying in normal situations. Like, normal situations, once you reach adulthood, if you're basically invisible, you can't be predated very well. And if you reproduce really slowly, and are slightly more case-selected, that means disasters tend to hit you less hard than those who need a lot of babies, and if a huge bunch of them are taken out, you are shafted, sort of thing.
Exactly, but I don't know. I think that's my theory. We'll get more into it. Again, this is a brand new study that just says they did survive in the vicinity. We'll hopefully figure out how sometime. That's my theory. It's based on the fact that they weren't burdened by babies, and they could like find shelter quickly, and since they're so little, they didn't really need too much, so they could just burrow or something, and. If it got too hot, because in some of those, if that close, the temperature would have been huge.
Yeah.
It would have been I'd say upwards of 200 degrees for some, I'd say,
huge area.
For a huge area. Oh, for the immediate area, we're talking about temperatures close to that of the sun, especially at first. But in a wide area for several hours, the temperature was probably upwards of 200 degrees. I'd say.
Okay.
So, as long as they could burrow and hide in the cool dirt until it passed, they're good, I guess. So.
Yeah.
Because they're little. But I just think it's interesting that we now have a vertebrate that survived the impact zone. Well, not the impact zone. Again, everything there was incinerated. but and everything within 100 miles was incinerated. But just beyond that were these guys.
Yep. Probably the closest thing, you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, based on this, for sure. So I'm going to give them hearty 66 million because that's how long ago this happened. So they won above the rating scale. But
I was just going to give them a flat 65 million because it takes real skill to survive the, KT extinction. I'd be more impressed if it was the Permian one, but that's a special kind of, if you'll pardon the French, a special kind of hell. All right.
Oh, yeah. That's not very much for... I was going to say, oh, no. Remember, I'm not editing this. The Velociraptors can't stand by, but hell is fine. But
yeah.
Anyways, all right. Well, that's it for this week. If you want to get a hold of the show, you can contact me. No edits at paleobytespodcast@gmail.com, at paleobytespodcast on Blue Sky, and Paleobytes Podcast on Instagram. You can find me on social media at Matthew Creator on Facebook, and Matthew64 everywhere else. If you want to talk to Alan, just send me an email because he's one of those smart guys who is not in social media. Although if you go to my personal Instagram, you'll see some pictures of him. I'll let you guess which one of them was recently because of a trip that he came over recently. We went to a theme park. That was fun. But I like how they said bite-sized episode. Now this is the standard length episode at this point. But But it's rambling, but it's good because we talked about the creatures the whole time.
Yep.
So it's fine. This is actually good. good rambling. Anyways, that's it for this. Oh, I have a book series on Amazon, Megazoic, available for print and Kindle. Obviously, there were none of these in the book. However, they probably in the final battle, which takes place in this area of the final book, Telecus, which takes place in Yucatan. I guess there was some crawling around in the background. You can believe that, because they would have been there. So,
yeah,
but
in the background.
All right. Yep, in the background, somewhere in there, crawling about. All right, that's it for this week. Get out of here. So long. Shoot. Go. Shoot like a lizard. Scamper away. Bye. Thanks for listening. If you want to further support the show, you should subscribe to my Patreon at patreon.com/MatthewDonald, where you can get ad-free episodes, and you can get the raw, unedited episodes. So go and check it out at patreon.com/MatthewDonald. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good day. Chomp.